All right, let's do our roll call. I'm Katie Reese. I'm looking for Vice Chair Chuck Yang.
Here.
Alderman Alyssa Prophet.
Here.
Michelle Winter.
Here.
And Alex Zacharias.
Here.
All right, do we also have Beth Kowalski?
Yes.
Hello, Beth. Rizal Peguero Amonte. Okay, Sadie Wilson. Or Timothy Pearl. Okay, that's our roll call. And that brings us to approving the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved. Approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Minutes are approved, and that brings us to regular business. Can I hand it over to you, Laura?
Absolutely. So our item for today is consideration with possible action to approve the artwork proposal from Greg Mueller for the large-scale public art project RFP. The city's Community and Economic Development Department, in coordination with the Purchasing Department, taking guidance from the Arts Commission. I know it's been a while, but the original request for proposal was developed through this commission and then taken through Purchasing Department's process to release a RFP for the commission and or purchase of public artwork that would add to the city's public art collection and encourage community engagement and interaction and developing community networks. So the city has allocated $50,000 in ARPA funds for this project. And in that RFP, we had listed a number of potential sites for the artwork, as well as opening it up that artists could recommend an alternate site if they were interested. From that list, the spaces that we eventually narrowed down to just due to availability was City Hall Council Chambers, the northernmost portion of the green space located at 109 Dousman, and Walnut Tunnel along the Fox River Trail. From the original RFP, we received 19 eligible proposals for phase 1. Staff assembled a selection committee made up of some commissioners and staff to then review those initial proposals based on the criteria we set in that RFP, and then narrow it down to 7 proposals. Those 7 participants were then invited to phase 2, which was the portion where we were actually requesting specific projects to be proposed. From those 7, based on a lot of discussion and consensus scoring, the selection team has recommended to move forward with Greg Mueller's proposal. His proposal is in the agenda packet. It's starting on page 11, if anyone is looking for it. But Greg's proposal is a sculptural vessel that is really kind of taking inspiration from Green Bay's industrial and recreational influences, and then incorporating a pair of swings that are kind of open for people to come and play with one another. That's kind of the initial part of it. Are there questions, discussion, ideas, thoughts? Did everyone get a chance to look? Okay, perfect. The initial site that it was recommended for was that green space at 109 Dousman. This is Parks and Recreation property. Staff is recommending the ability to determine an alternate location. As long as it's somewhere along the river. There's been some additional guidance from staff that the piece itself might not necessarily be the most impactful piece on that space. So there's interest in potentially having it sited somewhere else along the river.
What are some of the...
Laura, could you speak to why that location would not be as impactful?
I think there's question of the size of the piece in relation to the size of the space. Some staff has directed that they'd like to see larger work, not necessarily larger work, but something a bit more expansive.
Are those staff people who have reviewed proposals or who have experience in public art or public engagement?
Yes to most of that.
Okay, just, if we have all these cooks in the kitchen, are they cooks?
Yes.
Okay.
2 years ago, I believe, we had applied for a Wisconsin Economic Development Impact Grant to actually propose a plaza in that area with seating, and it was a bit more of an expanded vision for that space. So, based on...
So people who liked that project are sorry to see that go as a possible location to renew that project?
Correct.
Okay.
Some...
Thanks for clarifying.
No problem. To kind of go back to the question, alternate spaces that we've kind of been tossing around potentially as potential locations are the shipyard development, Light Park, elsewhere along the Fox River Trail to kind of infuse a new piece within that Life of the River project, which is a series of sculptures along the trail. I myself feel that as long as the piece is situated, since the piece speaks to the shipping industry and kind of that recreational waterfront portion of Green Bay, as long as the piece is located near water, I think it would suit us.
Has the idea been already, I guess, passed along to the artists to see what their thoughts may be?
Not yet.
Potentially? Okay.
I would say this is a little disappointing given the amount of review and revisions and that the sites have already been reviewed. I understand there's some politics or big feelings about the project you just mentioned, but the committee signed off on this piece for this location, and so, you know, where were these voices when the review process was happening?
I mean, I'm slightly surprised myself, but looking at the language of the RFP and the initial wide scope of it, of that we had shared 4 different locations initially. One of them actually got cut out because it was claimed for a mural for Art Fest. And we had also given the option that artists could recommend alternate locations. So, though I'm not happy that we went through the work of approving it for this specific space, I also feel that because we had that wide scope in the RFP initially for many locations, I'm okay if we have to consider potentially moving this. Because it wasn't just one original site initially. It was kind of a wide scope. So yes, not loving the extra work necessarily, but I don't think reciting the piece, and again, communicating and working with the artist, I don't think reciting it is going to detract from the original intent of the piece.
Who gets final say over the location? Because I am wholeheartely in favor of 109 Dousman. I think I can appreciate wanting to put it in Shipyard, which I think has a lot of great development happening. And I can understand putting it in Light, which I believe has like a band shell coming and some other development happening. I think this space is one that I've notoriously seen where you already have people crossing the bridge, you already have people walking. And that path is so inviting. And then I was so excited when I saw this proposal because in our neighborhood level, we've talked about having more interactive pieces, having swings, having something like that. So to have it situated here as an interactive piece with a pathway already in place, with that skyline, I'm just picturing like the opportunities. 4th of July is right there, like all the activities that we have within the city where this could become a fun interactive piece. So I guess, yeah, back to the original question, like who gets the final say on the location?
So I mean, it will go, everything that we're talking about today, it will go to council, and then it can certainly be brought up then, like, hey, not really feeling that. And you as a commission, you can decide, no, we want to approve the work where it's proposed. And then from there, it'll go through final approval through Parks Department since it's their site.
I share the same sentiments about liking this location for those reasons.
Yeah, but then it is potential that if it was Parks' decision that they would prefer to, because they might have a grand scheme of things where they might put more interactive, to use the entire site and make it more interactive, right, versus building around one art piece that may not fit in what their ultimate plans are, right? That potentially we could be pigeonholing this place from, like having other interactive pieces that may not fit with this. And this.
But we're potentially moving this for a prospective project that does not exist, does not have funding, has not been brought forth, because someone somewhere was like, we had a plan at one point, and we might again in the future.
And we can.
Is that correct?
Yeah, if the commission feels more comfortable with having staff bring forward a list, I mean, I think the main portion that we should be focusing on, we're getting a little
sidetracked
with the site necessarily, but I think the main portion to discuss and decide on today is the artwork selection itself. And if this commission is interested, I mean, staff can put together a list of potential sites and we can review that at another time. That's not an issue. But I think the main thing, and I think what some members of the public are here for, is to discuss the artwork itself, if that's okay.
I personally would rather approve a specific piece for a specific site. But if for grant reasons or just the efficiency of our body, we need to sign off on this piece and then sort out details, which is, I think, what I'm hearing.
We're using ARPA funds for this, and we do have to have a contract in place by the end of this month. So time is of the essence. We have to get that contract. The site, not necessarily, but that artist under contract.
Okay.
All right, do we want to open the floor for comments, questions?
Want to make a motion, Chuck?
Motion to open the floor?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The floor is open.
Would anybody have any comments, questions, concerns?
Well, we're certainly interested in the decision-making process. As a competing proposal, equally rated, I would love to hear.
Can I pause you right there? I think that's Terry. Can you state your name and address for the record for us?
Terry Warpinski, 200 William Street, Unit 401, De Pere, Wisconsin.
Thank you.
So
Please continue.
Okay, thank you. So, I mean, we're here obviously interested in the process. And as a competing proposal with an equal score, I thought that there might be some discussion about the decision-making before, well, anyway, I was just interested in the evaluation process.
Yeah, I see Troy on the call. Troy, would you be able to kind of speak more in-depth and definitely more professionally about the purchasing process?
Yeah, I certainly can. So I only facilitate the evaluation team, and as a facilitator with that team, there obviously was equal scores. So from that point, we discussed both proposals being equal, and at the end of that, as a team, they decided that the proposal of Greg Miller was more in favor of community. So that is the reasoning they decided to go with Greg Miller over Terry's proposal.
Can I just add to that? Would that be all right?
Absolutely.
I think, Terry, as you know, your proposal was very highly ranked, and in my opinion, one of the ones that really spoke to the theme, and I love that you were specifically identifying the community partners that you would use for the research. One of the tipping points for me, was where it would end up, and this was not a criterion of the process, so maybe it's not fair that it came down to this, but sort of if the city has $50K to spend on public art, where does it end up and kind of what sort of visibility does it have? And so one of the things that I was thinking about is, are we a government body that then awards a grant to put art in a government space as opposed to putting it outdoors? And so that was, for me, a thing that tipped the scales. So not necessarily merit of projects, but more just kind of a little bit how it looks when we report out how we spent this money and where it went. Again, just my personal pitch there.
And including that site maybe shouldn't have been part of the proposal if it was.
Well, again, that is my own personal thought in that moment. There were a number of proposals that addressed Chamber, and I think Chamber could certainly use public art. But fair point, given what I told you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else want to speak to that?
I did, one of the selection criteria as we're grading them included, a lot of them comes with, like if you saw the proposal, there's, the safety aspect. There was 4 other portions, and most of the artworks, when you're grading like safety, majority of like murals and paintings, they're always going to be safe in concept, right? So a lot of that scoring equalized a lot of the proposals. So the biggest impact was going to be what your proposed artwork is meeting the criteria of the community and networking. And being an interactive piece, it becomes less on the safety aspect versus a mural, which, it's on the wall, it's, less likely to someone to get hurt. So in all things equal, when you actually compare just the proposals itself for the community and networking, then that artwork piece, when you just look at just that portion of the scoring, you're tied equal. But if you just looked at that portion of the scoring, the community and networking portion of it scored just a little bit higher. And to me, that's what tipped the scales on that. If that helps explain, because it's the same on the total scoring, but then when you just look at the proposal itself for that, where it's community and networking, then that just tipped the scales.
Thank you, that's very clear.
Okay. Anybody else, any other questions, concerns? All right, motion to close the
Okay.
floor?
Second?
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the floor is closed. We return to the question at hand. We need to approve is that right, Laura?
Yes.
The motion to approve?
Could we,
So as far as the motion that you can make is, if we're in favor of specifically this 109 Dousman site, I would reword the motion. Gosh, now my packet is so many tabs.
While you're figuring that out, I'd just like to say this view is on security cameras with the county. It is a very active site. Perhaps economic development could look at Veterans Park, which is very much underutilized at this point in time, if they wanted to do something more plaza or driven, because I know originally, was it 2.5 years ago, Matt Buchanan had asked me to think about, or do write a letter of support for.
Yeah, it was a Vibrant Spaces grant.
Yeah, so living on the river 24/7, watching everything that's happening, I think Veterans Park could totally see a lot of love if there was other funding sources, because it really is not utilized very well. This corner in general, like I said, from the Neville's perspective, is highly trafficked, highly used, and is backed up on our cameras. And I know it's bridge cameras too, but.
That's helpful to know.
Well, and I know, and we just did our public survey. It closes up this month, but we've gotten comments about from families, like, you don't have picnic tables on the grounds. Well, we weigh that, is it gonna end up in the river, is it not gonna end up in the river, is it gonna, another piece that we need to make sure, because like, we're just making sure our public artwork doesn't get vandalized or swung on or hung on. So I can tell you that the number of families that have answered, and it was almost, yesterday it was like 482 respondents, and most of them, the majority were 35 to 44, which was awesome to see that, because we've never seen surveys quite that way, are asking for those spaces that are out there. So we've been kind of contemplating, how do we do that with the small lot we have. So.
That is good to hear, to know that it's feeding into what the community is searching for, especially in that space. I think in general probably, but specifically.
Well, and we were talking
area.
earlier, I know it's somewhat adjacent and off topics, but just so, the county invested in the north parking lot, and we worked with city park staff, because the way that boundary works and comes up the river, what's city and county, we had to work with the parks department, because we wanted to beautify the tree space that is adjacent to the river, and we worked with the trees that had to come down over the time that are ash trees, and, there is a bench there, but again, it's in a holding zone, so I think that whole entire space, there's some shrubs that could easily be ripped out, that it would definitely make that.
I was gonna say, I think through the addition of landscaping and incorporating some additional seating and things, I think this could expand. And heaven forbid we add in another piece or something.
It just seems to me it could be the starting point of things, as you just said. I mean, sometimes that's the
You need
the
that
catalyst
catalyst
to get it going.
to move things
People
forward.
notice and then they say, oh, we could add this. And then it's public involvement and the more things get to happen.
Yeah. So if the commission is in favor of the piece, I think I would reword the recommendation to be approve Greg Mueller's artwork proposal for the northernmost portion located at 109 Dustman Street.
I would make that motion to approve.
Wait, so we're approving for that location,
Yes.
But if
so
it's,
not alternative sites? And then if they push back, we reapprove?
This will then go to council and
Yeah.
it can get opened up for discussion again at that point too.
Do we have to approve the artwork by itself first so we get that contract in place? And then bundle it with a motion for 109? I'm just questioning because
But-
It might be better to separate.
It might be
the two.
better to separate.
So
it.
artwork
For a
is
timing
proposed
situation.
specifically for that site, and this
Okay.
proposal, I think if we want to approve this contingent on a new site being located, we could word it that way, but I don't think we can separate them out because the proposal identifies that location.
Okay.
Does that, I mean, maybe splitting hairs here, but
I just don't
Laura?
want it to stop our contract. We need that by the end of the month, right?
And I keep
Yes.
that,
Right.
I'll keep that in mind on Tuesday as well.
Okay.
yeah, because if we award it for the site and it goes to council, and if council doesn't approve it, then we don't get a contract in place, right?
Right.
So if we just award it contingent upon,
approval of the site.
yes.
Can we put in a...
Final location to be.
Because can we award it
Yes.
without the site, just for the artists and the piece,
And getting that...
and getting a
contract.
contract in place, and final location to be approved by council?
Can we do a recommendation for 109? Or... That's too many questions.
This is
So early
above
in the
my
day.
pay grade.
I mean, what you could do is what Katie had mentioned, is you can approve it at that location with the condition or with the stipulation that location could be alternate. That way that the contract can be signed, the guy can start
Yeah.
making the piece, because that's really going to be the timing too. And if the location changes, well, then the patent goes somewhere else. If
But
it
I
doesn't
think-
change, then it doesn't matter.
Does this body want to have that location come back?
That would be a
yes,
question.
absolutely. This, like, I don't want to be plunking random art randomly at the bequest of people who've not thought about, not to dismiss the objections of people in Parks and Rec or whoever But yeah, we definitely want to sign off on a specific location.
So,
And I like that location.
So you could.
approve Greg Mueller, I'm just gonna word vomit some stuff and we'll see what sticks. Approve Greg Mueller's artwork proposal contingent on location being at 109 Dousman. Alternate locations should be brought back to Arts Commission for review. Something like that?
Will that satisfy the timeline of the ARPA grant?
Yes.
Because he
I mean,
can
we-
start, he
we
can
worded
have that
better.
contract in place, and he can start his portion. Because
Okay.
he's not gonna have it done and need to be placed by the end of the month, so.
Right.
How do we word my word vomit better? So that
Yeah,
it
we move the
sounds-
word contingent from before
To after.
to after, because we don't want it to seem like a contract if
It's
there's,
hinging on location.
it's hinging on location. We don't want that. We want it to say, this is what we've approved, but there's a little wiggle room.
Approval of the proposal from Greg Mueller for the large-scale art project at the 109 Dousman, contingent
On Parks approval?
on approval or alternate site to be chosen. And that would always come back here,
Oh, okay.
because you would bring it back here if an alternate site, and then it would go through the approval process for that again.
Okay. But if we can get it through at 109, it'll just go through and it'll be done. Okay. I'm good
Was
with
the,
that.
was the group that, how sizable was the group that kicked back on that location? And what was the percentage? Like, how many were like, yeah, you're right, 109's not great, versus, was it like,
I wasn't
You
in
weren't
those
there? Okay.
conversations, but that was what I was told.
okay.
So I don't
Who are
know.
these people?
They get paid way more than I do.
Well, if they're preventing this from going forward, I'd like to know who they are and what is their background? Like, what, are they gonna propose something? Like, what's the roadblock here?
I mean, I don't think,
Name.
Katie, I don't have a name.
Okay.
I don't think it's, I think whatever locations or alternate locations that are being developed or were going to be developed, I don't think it was ever going to be just steamrolled through. That concept or, like, one, we have to make sure that the artist is on board with changing. But then it would come back to the body.
Okay, let's do that. And then if it has to come back, it has to come back, but hopefully it'll just go through and we can get, because I do think that that's a good sign.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think related to that site and me trying to get you to name names is, could these people who have perhaps vision for some sort of plaza here say, okay, here's this piece that we know is gonna come in, and we would like to develop around it so that rather than it being like, and here's the 2025 piece, and then in 2027 we have something else that doesn't have visual cohesion, like, could someone be developing a plan now and finding funding such that all of this could, like Beth was just talking about picnic tables and, like, could someone be developing a cohesive site plan
Yeah.
as this moves forward
And I think
around
that-
this piece?
That kind of speaks to what Michelle had said, is that this piece could be
The
a
anchor.
catalyst
The
for.
anchor.
Anchor, yeah.
Yeah, but I would want it to be built now rather than like, oh, now we have a piece and let's also bring in a slide or something else, because I think also this artist has proposed and sent us visuals with a certain sort of vista and a certain sort of spacing, and so suddenly the city's like, actually, I think we're gonna bring back that 9/11 memorial because it was so great, and then like, right, there's a certain visual dialogue that's going on that wasn't what we approved or what the artist intended. So I want a bigger proposal, more money on public art.
Well, we have
And
50,000 to
infrastructure.
spend right now.
Okay.
And unfortunately, this is art or parks property, so we can build an art piece and they can shroud all around it.
Yeah, we aren't.
So that's a problem. That's a problem.
I mean, I don't want us to gang up on Parks Department. Parks Department has been a very, very, very helpful partner.
Right, yes, right.
I also don't want to gang up, but I want them to be on board and share this vision and be excited about it, especially if it's on their property and they're going to be the people maintaining and dealing with it. And I'm sure that they are because the proposal has gotten this far, but
Can I
Like,
ask
could
a question?
well,
Was someone
I feel like I'm
from,
delaying the game now,
was
so
someone
I'm gonna
from
stop.
Parks on your selection committee?
Because we have multiple sites that aren't necessarily all under Parks jurisdiction.
Well, if there was something proposed for that site after we cite the sculpture, would we be included in that conversation? Because we have such a good relationship with Parks,
Yes.
we would be included in that conversation?
Yeah.
Then let's trust that our relationship with Parks and the Arts Commission is going to continue to be strong, and let's just go ahead and do this so that we can get the contract in place and work with Parks if they decide to build up that site, that we can keep this as the focal point. Because I think that's the point of putting in a piece of public art, is to make it the focal point and not to screw it up by doing a bunch of junk around it. That's my trust in what our city's been doing thus far with public art. We have a thriving rotating art program. We have a great Riverwalk. You know, there's people, now there are people that have no art background in the area requesting art to be put in their neighborhoods. I mean, I think that we have a great opportunity here, and we also have a lot of energy behind us already. So I think that it will be honored that we said, yes, let's put it here, and then we can work with Parks if they want to develop it, or if someone comes in with a proposal, we can work with them to make it cohesive. That's just my thought.
Michelle, I love your generous vision.
Thank you.
So could I put a
Try.
motion to approve Greg Mueller's artwork proposal for 109 Dawson Street? Any alternative sites to come back to the commission or the committee for approval?
Second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, the motion passes as amended.
Thank you all very much. Continuing on,
Coordinators report.
coordinators report and project updates so thank you for very, very helpful discussion. And thank you for having us move forward on the large-scale ARPA art project. Our small-scale ARPA art grants, all of those are moving forward at various levels. Some of them have closed out already, some of them are a bit further along, and some of them I need to push a little bit. But all of that money is slowly trickling out in drips and drabs.
Thanks for coming.
I'm currently still working on a draft program for you guys to review for the city's Poet Laureate program. I've been reviewing a number of different communities to kind of compare and put in line what our program outline should be. Right now I'm kind of leaning towards a 2-year Poet Laureate, just because if the rotating art program is any indication, 1 year goes by very fast.
Question?
Yeah.
Are we doing a creative laureate or are we doing a poet laureate?
During the council meeting that this was brought up,
Okay.
it was reiterated that it's to be a poet laureate,
Oh, okay.
or to look into a poet
Okay.
laureate. So,
I missed that, sorry.
no, it's all good. So I am drafting that information together, coming up with kind of the benefits of the position and what that all looks like, expectations of what the laureate would be doing their time, and all of that good stuff. So I'm hoping to have that ready for you guys next month. We shall see. Also, yesterday, I applied for, that might be why my brain is slightly lagging. I applied for a NEA grant for their art projects, local arts agency segment specifically. The application that I put forward was a sub-granting grant, so matching some of our percent for art dollars to build up our pool of funds again so that we can then sub-grant those out through our public art grant program, which our most recent round was funded through ARPA dollars. I'll find out in April whether or not we receive that grant, and then at that time you guys can decide yay or nay. There might be some other NEA grants and additional grants that I'll be looking at applying here in the next few weeks potentially as well. Farland Park sculptures, Ben has the artwork completed. It's really just kind of waiting on the rest of the improvements that are happening at Farland Park. There's a lot of ground being moved that's way beyond even what our little sculptures are going to be doing. So once that's all smoothed out and closer to completion, then we can move Ben in.
And the weather's been playing a big part. in
It
that.
really has. I actually just spoke with some parks staff yesterday, and playground equipment that normally takes 3 weeks or so, it's taking months.
On East Shore Drive.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one.
Rotating art has been moving a little bit slower this season. It's been a little bit tricky to coordinate the incoming and outgoing artists, but just had a piece dropped off yesterday. Again, weather played a factor in that, but they are rotating out, just a bit slower. And then Art Fest. Hopefully, most of you got to go out to Art Fest. If I,
Me too.
It was great.
It was.
It was great. It was, I mean, the leap and bound they took from last year to this year, incredible.
which
Absolutely
is
incredible.
insane to think, because it's only the second year that
Right.
they've done it.
And
so.
from year 1 to year 2, to make that big a leap was stunning to me.
Yeah. So I unfortunately didn't get to go out to much of the festival. I was working rather closely with assisting the artists for that collaborative mural underneath Main Street Bridge. I have lots of photos taken and tried to keep kind of a loose tally of participants. I'd say there was at least between 225 and 250 for the first day that helped take part in the mural.
Nice.
So that was definitely a good weekend for art. And then, other than that, I mean, meeting with neighborhood associations, I just met with a fairly newly established neighborhood association. So now I think I have 5 neighborhoods that,
What neighborhood association was that?
Fritch Park,
Hmm.
yeah.
Nice.
So,
We're spreading our tentacles of art all through the city.
it is helpful though, and it's always so exciting to meet with neighborhood associations, because I always tell them, like, you're the boots on the ground. You know what's going on here, and you know what issues you have, and like how, not that art can fix everything. I like to think that it can, but like, okay, you have garbage that's piling up here. Well, let's put some garbage cans in, but maybe we can like paint them or something. So, yeah, I always get very excited working with neighborhood
That's
associations.
great.
And she's very helpful. I can attest. How long have you been coming to ours? For like over a year, I feel like.
But you guys are like my like perfect example. I'm like, no, like
I love that.
you guys are just rocking it. So yeah, those are the things that I can think of right now. I'm sorry.
No, we're applying for grants. Don't be sorry.
Our next meeting is going to be August 28th. Yeah, same time, same place, same channel.
Do you anticipate any 2025 budget issues?
Not currently. If anything, I might be able to get some training in or something, or go to a conference.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do it.
No budget issues. I just did a double negative. No, there's already been discussion of block grant funds being allocated and what we might be looking to do with those, or having this body assist with doing.
Oh,
So, yeah. Other than that, and I'm not the only player. There's on Broadway, and all of our other community partners are absolutely rocking it out of the park too. I can't take all, you guys can't take all the credit.
Most of it. Just kidding.
But yeah,
Okay.
other than that, I'm gonna close her out. Can I make a
Thanks,
motion?
Laura.
motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You guys are too fast with the second. Yeah, get in there.
Thanks,
All
everyone.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Recording stop.
See you later.